Once upon a time, there were two sisters named Ava and Lila who lived in a cozy little cottage in the countryside. Ava was hardworking and spent her free time helping at her father's produce stand in town. Lila, on the other hand, loved adventure and fun. Whenever she got bored, she would sit by the river, brushing her long hair and admiring her reflection. "Today I look even more beautiful than my sister," she would often whisper to herself. One day, Ava and Lila's father went away on a long journey, one from which he would never return. Ava was heartbroken and mourned deeply, but Lila, she was excited. "Now I can stay out by the river all night if I want," she said with a grin. After their father's departure, Ava began working even harder. Every morning, she swept the floors, cooked warm, hearty soup for lunch, and hung the laundry to dry. Meanwhile, Lila spent her time causing trouble for her sister. She would dirty the freshly cleaned rugs and pour cold water into the soup. "Why is the soup still cold? And why are the rugs all muddy again? I just cleaned everything," Ava would ask, exhausted. "Probably the animals you feed made the mess," Lila would reply slyly. One afternoon, Lila went for a walk in the woods. Carelessly, she picked unripe berries and threw them into the river. Just then, an old woman slowly approached her.
"Hello there, dear. I'm very hungry. Could you spare a few berries for me?" Lila tossed her a handful of sour wild strawberries. "Of course! Take as many as you want. These are the tastiest strawberries you'll ever have," she said sarcastically. As soon as the old woman took a bite, her stomach cramped in pain. "Delicious, huh? Well, thank you anyway." While Lila made her way home, the old woman lay down under a tree, weak and unwell. Later, Ava went into the woods to gather vegetables and noticed the frail woman. Without hesitation, she brought her back home and made her a bed.
"Why is she in our house? She smells terrible," Lila exclaimed. "Don't say that, Lila," Ava replied gently. "She's very ill. We need to care for her." Ava cooked hot soup and made herbal tea with wild herbs. But Lila secretly dumped out the soup and put dirt in the tea. "Lila, did you put dirt in this tea? Tell me the truth." "No, I didn't. Maybe the old lady did," Lila lied. A few days later, the old woman recovered. "You are a kind-hearted girl, Ava. If you ever fall sick, eat these blueberries each day. They'll help you heal quickly." Time passed, and the burden of doing everything alone began to wear Ava down. Eventually, she fell ill and stayed in bed, drenched in sweat. "Lila, could you bring me the blueberries the old woman gave me?" But Lila had eaten them all. "There's nothing here. Maybe those birds you always feed took them." Ava grew weaker and weaker. Meanwhile, Lila went to the river to comb her hair, as usual. There, the old woman appeared once again. "Little girl, where's your sister?" "She went to pick fruit in the woods. Why do you care?" Lila snapped. The old woman saw through Lila's lie and rushed to the cottage. Her heart broke when she found Ava pale, shivering, and barely conscious. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Lila, watching through the window, burst into laughter. At that very moment, the old woman transformed into a radiant fairy. Lila was, "You're a fairy? I let you into our home. You owe me. Give me the most beautiful hair in the world. Use your magic and grant me my wish." The fairy's eyes narrowed. When I first saw you, I disguised myself as an old woman to test your heart. I gave you the chance to do a single kind deed, but you chose cruelty every time. With a flick of her wand, the fairy transformed Lila's hair into tangled, crawling ivy. My hair! What happened? This is hideous! Lila screamed in horror. She rushed to the river to see her reflection. Flies buzzed around her head, her hair now thick with ivy, tangled into the ground like roots. I'm so ugly. I can't even stand to look at myself. Back at the cottage, the fairy gave Ava one of the magical blueberries. Instantly, color returned to her cheeks, and she opened her eyes. Thank you, fairy. I feel so much better, Ava said softly. The fairy waved her wand twice, and the little cottage transformed into a stunning palace. Ava was amazed. Kindness always earns its reward, dear girl. This palace is your gift. Thank you, fairy, but what about my sister? What will happen to her? She will remain by the river, cursed to look at her ugly reflection forever. I love my sister, Ava said quietly. What good is this big palace if I'm alone? Please give us back our little home. That's my only wish. The fairy was deeply touched by Ava's heart. She turned the palace back into the modest cottage and approached Lila. With a final wave of her wand, the ivy vanished and Lila's beautiful hair returned. Overcome with emotion, Lila ran into Ava's arms. You saved me. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll change. I want to be a better person. And from that moment on, Lila learned that the joy of helping others is the greatest kind of happiness, because happiness becomes even more beautiful when it's shared.